So what you do to roll this out is you unwrap the dough, and you should make sure that it's your dough you have because there's a lot of dough in the fridge. And you want to save your plastic wrap. So this is what you're actually rolling the dough onto. And then you get a new piece of plastic wrap and cover it. So you're actually rolling this dough in between two pieces of plastic. Okay. Now take your rolling pin. Now I have found with rolling pins it's easier to actually not use the handles. You will get more even weight if you just ignore that the rolling pin has handles. When you use handles, you actually lighten the pressure at the middle of the rolling pin so your cookies are thin here and then thick in the middle. So our goal is to roll this. Stop. Hi, welcome back to Pinwheel Cookies. This is day 2 of the lab. There are 3 days total. You should have 2 pieces of dough, and you need to make sure that the ones you get out of the refrigerator are from your class in your lab. You should have vanilla dough and chocolate dough. And today you're going to roll them out and form your cookie log, and then tomorrow you'll slice and bake your cookies. So we're going to start with the vanilla cookie dough. You want or need to save your saran wrap or your plastic wrap. You're simply unfolding this and leaving your dough on it. And then what you are doing is getting another piece of plastic wrap to put over the top of it. So you're actually, what you are doing is rolling the dough in between 2 pieces of plastic wrap. Now you're going to take your rolling pin, and most professional rolling pins do not have these handles. That it is just simply this part. And that is because you actually can roll more evenly like this than you can like this. Alright, so that is how we're going to use the rolling pin like this. And we want to roll this out to a 9x7. So from your math skills, you know that 9 is longer than 7. So you're going to have a rectangle, not a square. So you might want to look at your ruler and kind of get an eyeball up here of exactly how long you want this to be. Now another option is to get a piece of wax paper and actually cut it into a 9x7 rectangle, and you can just use that as your guide. But for this demo, we are simply going to use the ruler. So you start rolling your dough, and it's going to be harder to roll at first because it is cold. Now you want to be careful not to roll off the complete edge or your dough may break, so you can just push that back up in there. And right now I'm already at 9 inches. So now I need to get my 7. And I don't have much further to go. So I'm short on these corners and a little wide. So now at this point, I'm going to kind of, well, I can try to do this with the plastic, push some of this back in and true up my corners, which means make them nice corners. And you can use your hands to kind of push the dough and get a real nice rectangle. And now I'm going to remeasure to see where I'm at. Okay. Alright, so I was just, and when I say a smidge over, it was like 1/8 of an inch over, which is negligible. That's not a big deal. Okay, so you should have a nice rectangle here that measures 9x7. Okay, so I'm just going to set this to the side, and since it's all on plastic wrap, you can just pick it up. Okay. Now I'm going to do the chocolate very, very similar. I'm going to open up the plastic. Now if you find that your dough is not rolling out very well, it may simply need to go back into the refrigerator if it's starting to get sticky. If your dough is falling apart everywhere, some ingredients were mismeasured. And chances are you have too much flour or not enough fat. Your dough is too dry. Now, the chocolate dough gets rolled out to 9 by 6. I do believe 8 by 7. I'm sorry, 8 by 7. So again, same process. And measure as you go. It's easier to make it thinner than it is to make it thicker. So we're already a smidge over 8, and we still need to make it a little wider. So I'm already at the point that I can start truing up my corners. And again, I'm going to check my measurements. 8. Okay, and I'm just a little narrow. By 7. Okay, so now we have another piece of dough. So what we do now, to me, is just simply marvelous. Whoever thought of this idea was a genius. To make pinwheel cookies. Jelly rolls are also made this way, you know, where you actually roll up 2 different ingredients and then get the swirled pattern that you guys have seen in some of the cookies. Maurice Lendl cookies, a lot of their stuff is pinwheel. So you open up the vanilla dough, and we open up the chocolate, and we're going to lay the chocolate on top of the vanilla, lining up the bottom 3 sides. Okay? And so we had a tiny tear. Those things happen. It will never show in your cookies. You just do a little surgery here, repair it, and it's perfect. And now you can just kind of even up all your dough here. So as you remember, the white dough or the vanilla dough was rolled out 1 inch longer. That extra's at the top. All right, and these 3 are the ones that are lined up. Now you're going to start at this edge and start rolling your dough. And it will break at the beginning. You just keep rolling. There we go. And all of this will never ever show in your cookies. If it's getting sticky, you can use the plastic wrap to kind of smooth it out. And I'm actually finding it's easier to roll with the plastic wrap because my hands are warm, so that will melt your dough. So you can use the plastic wrap to keep rolling your cookies. And then, of course, peeling it away as you go so you don't end up with plastic wrap in the middle of your cookies. So you keep rolling. And when you get here to the end, again, I would use the plastic wrap to just go over and seal that. You can even out your log. Okay. And there's your log. And then if you look at the end of it, you have a swirled pattern. And tomorrow we will slice the cookies and bake them, and they will all be swirled. So now you can take this piece of plastic wrap, wrap up your dough, be sure to cover the ends, label it, and put it in the fridge for tomorrow. Okay, we're back now for day 3 of your pinwheel cookies. You will take your log out of the refrigerator and make sure that it's your log. And you will need to have your pans. If you're in a conventional food slab, you will be using some type of baking sheet. It might be a cookie sheet or a jelly roll pan, and line it with parchment paper that you will get from your instructor. If you're in the commercial food slabs, you will be using a sheet pan, again lined with parchment paper. For those of you in the commercial rooms, at your table there are 2 groups. You will draw a line down the middle of the paper, and then you'll just put your group's name. So this would be Mrs. B, and this would be Mrs. S or Miss S. Okay, so that we know this is my groups of cookies and this is her group of cookies. And I've already started slicing, but I will show you how to do this. You will take out your log and you will get a piece of thread. The best thread to use for this is upholstery thread because you can't break it, and commonly when you're cutting through dough, you know, the cheaper threads just keep snapping. So what we're going to do first is called scoring. And our instructions say that we're supposed to cut the cookies a 1/4 inch thick. So what you do is you go down the cookie and you just make little tick marks. They're called tick marks, and I'll finish some here. And you want all these a 1/4 inch apart. All right, and that just gives you a guideline of how thick to make the cookies. Then you slide the thread underneath the dough, crisscross, and pull. And it slices through perfectly. Now the reason we're having you do this instead of using a knife is because I will show you what happens when you try to cut the cookies with the knife. As I press down, the dough gets all smashed and your cookie falls apart. So I'm just going to smash this one together because no cookie dough should ever go to waste. But that will be the ugly cookie. Again, you pull the thread up, crisscross, and it slices right through the dough. And you can see the difference between these two cookies, how nice and smooth that one is versus the mess the other one is that was used with the knife. So you continue and just cut all of your cookie dough until you're ready to bake. Okay, our cookies are ready to go in the oven. And just a tip, when you're in a hurry and you have to cheat and buy that pre-made cookie dough that us bakers just, you know, it's like sacrilege, you should just never do. But when time's short, you need it, the easiest way to cut those cookies is with a piece of thread, so you get nice round cookies. Those logs are made by machine, so they're perfectly round. So if you slice them with the thread, you'll still get perfectly round cookies. So into the oven. If you're in a conventional foods lab, you'll be putting your cookie sheet into a regular oven, and you want to put it in the middle of the oven, height-ways, so that, you know, the hot air can go all the way around. In the convection oven in the commercial lab, any shelf will do because there's a fan blowing all the hot air around. You put them in there, and then you set your timer. And again, if you're in the commercial foods lab, you have to adjust your time on the recipe. And it says that we are supposed to bake these for about 13 minutes. So in the commercial kitchens, you'll set the timer for about 8 before you check it. In the conventional foods labs, you would set your timer for probably 11 or 12 to check it in case they get done quickly. Okay, our timer has gone off. So to get these out of the oven, be sure to put on your handy-dandy oven mitts. Okay, and your cookie should just be starting to turn brown. A very nice thing about parchment paper is the cookies will not stick to it. They'll come right off, and you can get a roll of parchment paper at just about any grocery store there is. All right, enjoy.